Hey everybody, and welcome to the End Channel video blog. And today what I want to compare is Klein versus Knipex needle nose pliers. So let's get right into it. Now the first thing I want to compare is just the pricing of the tool, so that way we can establish price per quality. And the Knipex needle nose pliers are $27.97 Canadian on Amazon, and they're manufactured in Germany. Now the Klein needle nose pliers are $19.29 Canadian, and they're manufactured in America. Now the place I want to start off with is comparing the two profiles of the tool. Now, if you actually measure them at the cutting edge here, it's probably the stockiest, and on both tools it is exactly 360 thou, which I find a little bit deceiving because if you have them standing side by side, this just looks stockier, and it's probably just because the handles are lifting it up and casting a shadow. But the profiles are hugely different. You have a really stocky tool here with the Klein, and what I mean by that is it tapers off really abruptly, and it doesn't have a lot of length. Where if you look at something like the Knipex, it's got a lot of finesse behind it. And what I mean is it really tapers off smoothly, and it actually just has a really nice profile for actually reaching and working in electrical boxes, just the length and all that. And now you might be saying to yourself, well, wouldn't this hold up longer? Actually, not so much. And the reason is because it's not flexible. And I'm going to cover that in just a little bit. But that's a huge design flaw in the actual layout of this tool. And just comparing the cutting edges of this, I don't know if it's a huge deal, but this right here is about 5/8, where the Klein is 1/2 inch. I don't really use these tools for cutting too much. I mean, if you're going to use something, use linesmen, use cable cutters, but it's just nicer to know that you have a little bit more capabilities with this. Now, once again, I just want to compare mechanical motion, and Knipex always shines on this. And as you can see, I actually have to use force to hold it from coming back. And that's really nice. It's just a very free-flowing, you're not fighting it to actually get the motion out of it, and it just comes down to that really nice machining. Where if we compare it to something, let's just say, once again, to the Klein, you have something that's really not so good. And one of the reasons for that is their tools come with filings and stuff in them. And concerning their price range, it's just one of those things, like I don't want to clean my tools before I get them, and what's in the rivet. So it's just really dirty machining, and I'm not a huge fan. It's not huge motion where you have to fight it a lot, but it's just one of those subtle little details that does translate a long way. Now the Knipex here, they really did something different. They brought a new type of steel to this, and what they basically did is they dropped the chromium. And what that means is it's going to have more or less tactidium property, and they've added some other additives, but of course upon research you can't discover what it is. But what that means is elasticity, which means more flexibility. So that's actually observing what that means for the tool itself. So now we're going to try to observe the benefits between the two tools. And what we're going to try to observe is the flexibility of the tools. And I'm going to point this one out first, and it's the Knipex. And the reason why I'm going to go to this one first is just to really animate the flexibility of the tool. So when you're actually pushing down on this handle here, and you're actually doing that, you can see a lot of flexing right here. And that's where spring steel or tools that are a little bit more elastic are going to have a huge benefit, because that means that there's going to be less translation of distortion to the actual handle, because there is a lot of leverage going on here. So basically what that means is your rivet's going to hold in place, and your tool's not going to be as easily distorted in the actual alignment between the two actual devices. So that right there is a huge benefit. So if we actually compare that to, let's just say, the Klein ones, and when you're actually prying into it and going, you don't have a lot of flexing, and that means that that distortion is going to occur over there. So that's where the benefits of good engineering really stand out. Now, for obvious reasons, I really can't compare the comfortability between these two handles, because this is actually nice and well taken into consideration, and the ones that I bought myself aren't. They're just basically dipped. Though they are somewhat comfortable, they're not as comfortable as just, let's say, the Journeyman. And as you saw in my review last week, I thought between these two tools, the Knipex just has a softer feel to it, where this is a little bit more robust and rigid for the actual molded grip. So I give it again to the Knipex. But one thing I love about the Klein tools is the color coordination, and especially something like this. Like you can see two extreme tools here: linesman pliers versus actual needle nose. So you have your rough tool and your finesse tool, and I just love how it's color coordinated. So when I'm looking at my bag, okay, yellow, I know I have my needle nose here. So I give it to Klein for that. Beautiful design in the actual color coordination. Now, before I point out the obvious winner, I just want to say that when I first got into this trade, I bought Klein tools. My entire collection, if you see my tool bag review, include the link right here, is all Klein. And the reason is because I saw Klein out in the field all the time. And I thought it's got to be the best if everyone's using it. But now, when I actually start comparing other tool brands, the Knipex really does shine. And that's because they're actually putting innovations in behind their products. And to me, that is what makes a great tool. It's always constantly improving, striving to be better. And when you're taking things like elasticity into this type of tool, you really are looking at all the options. So I have to give it to Knipex. They make a beautiful tool. Stay tuned for next week when I compare side cutters. And thanks so much for watching. Have yourselves a great week.